Pregame.com.
Super Bowl Sunday, New England Patriots, New York Football Giants. Not quite sure exactly where that line's going to settle, but we're not talking about the game or the total right now. It's prop time, and as we're hearing here in Vegas, more and more money is being bet on the props every single year, and they're expecting over 50% of the handle to be prop money and not just side and total. It's pretty impressive considering they only started props, 10, 15 years ago with whether Refrigerator Perry scores a touchdown back when the Bears met the Patriots. You know, that pretty much started it all. Now, everybody's out to start props. There's pages and pages and pages. You could pretty much find a prop for anything. You could even make up props. There's certain books are offering prizes. But what I've learned is this. It's enjoyable for recreational bettors to find a prop, you know, or to have their friends over and everybody's got a different prop ticket and they enjoy the game and cheer something in. But then there's the real prop betting market, and that's the serious guys, professional bettors, syndicates that pool their money and resources together and know that it's an extremely exploitable market. It's very inefficient still, even decade in. It's still extremely inefficient. And year in and year out, there's a lot of pro bettors that earn a good profit on the Super Bowl alone who are willing to put out a lot of money, put on a lot of plays, a lot of volume. I'm talking upwards of 50, 60, 70 prop bets in order to take advantage of that volume. And I know for a fact you're one of those guys that does exactly that. So I'm going to pass it off to you, my man, and let them know what's up.
To start out, I'm going to say what I'm doing. I'm not saying this is right and whatever somebody else does is wrong. Everybody's got a different way to look about it. I've talked to guys who they do their props based on how they figure the game is going to play out. I don't do that. If I wanted to do that, I would just bet the game. There is something you can do later on. For example, if you want the Giants and you couldn't get the 3.5, you couldn't get the 3, there's other ways to basically play the Giants without having to bet into the bad number of 2.5. The first thing you got to do, and this is for guys who...
Like, for example, Eli Manning to win
yeah, you know, I went back.
Win the MVP if the Giants win.
50% chance that the Giants are going to win the game, and the quarterback of the winning team gets it about 50% of the time. If you can get a decent payout, that's the way you do it. When I set up everything, I have all my numbers done before the lines come out, and that's the problem most guys do. They go into the Hilton, and they'll grab the sheets, take them home, do all their number crunching, and then they'll come in and place the bet. The problem is, there's 30 guys in line Thursday night when they put them out that are already betting into those lines. So you've got to have your lines ahead of time. You just go through and say, I made this line minus 120. It opens up, it's plus whatever. My first bet I made down the Hilton, I was one of the first guys in line. I bet something that was plus 175. It's now minus 120. You go in now, there's no value in betting that right now, but there was when I was there.
And you do that by keeping the sheet. You'll keep this booklet. This is the huge sheet.
Yeah, this is the Hilton here, and I've got
sheets
all
and
the
sheets
other
and sheets
from in town.
So next year, you'll have this sheet, this year's Super Bowl, and go through the props and create your own number based on the two teams that are playing next year.
Yeah,
because there's more or less the same props.
Will be the same as they were. And you just make a difference.
The players change.
You know what the props are. Now, every year they come up with about 20 new ones, and I give them all the credit in the world for that. But at least you've got your normal things.
Will they score in the first 5 minutes?
Right,
Will there be an overtime?
You got to get that every year, and you got to compare the two teams and compare their games. And you know, a lot of people use averages, and I talked about this earlier. I don't use averages.
You use the mean.
I use the mean, and what I do is, you know, if there's a 16, by the time they've played now 18, 19 games, I knock off the 2 highs, I knock off the 2 lows, and then I take the average of those. And I also have, for example, the Brady, will he throw over under 1.5 touchdown passes? Well, they've played 18, 19 games. You go through, okay, how many games did he throw over 1.5? How many did not throw over 1.5? So let's say out of 18 games, it's 9 over, 9 under. The line should be minus 110 either way. You come up with your mean, and it says 1.5, and the line comes out Minus 110.
Instead of saying he
no
threw
value.
50 touchdowns divided by 15 games, 16 games, and he throws this many per game.
Yeah, so what you got to do is you got to take the mean, but you also have to go, and I don't know the term of it, but I go the over-under type of thing. And so over this supposed number, how many have gone over, how many have gone under, then you can make your mathematical models out of that and say, okay, if this game is at this number, if I can get it at plus money, then it's something I want to bet. So that's what I do. For example, one of the plays I made early on was which team will have more penalty yards, the Giants or the Patriots. It was 110 either way. A lot of people will look and they'll say, okay, well, the Giants have averaged this many penalty yards, the Patriots have averaged this, there's no advantage. Problem is, you've got different reffing groups for each game. So you can't say overall how many penalty yards they've had.
That they average 6 per game or 5 per game.
What you have to do is you have to go, okay, well, let me go back. And in the 19 Giants games, they had more penalty yards than in their 19 games. They had 11 games where they had more penalty yards, 8 games where they had less. So there's a slight edge to the Giants having more penalty yards. Then you take a look at the Patriots. In their 18 games, they had 6 games in which they had more, 12 in which they had less. So you've got the Patriots don't have many penalties in their games. The Giants usually out-penalize the other opposition. And in a year, I'm getting the Giants at minus 110 and an even number. Of course, I'm going to bet the Giants to have more penalty yards.
And you tend to see the line moving your direction.
And it virtually always does because there's a lot of guys out here to do the exact same thing as I do.
And what that does, though, is then that offers you the opportunity to middle it, to scalp it.
Yep.
You don't have to stay on a position. A lot of times you want to because you're getting the best of it. If you're getting minus 110 at a true odds of minus 170, I wouldn't really want to scalp that. I'm getting the best of it.
Yep.
But there are times that you're setting yourself up because you know other guys are going to come in and see the exact same thing you did, and all of a sudden you could come back and middle that, scalp it, limit your exposure, right?
Yeah, what you want to do is put yourself in a position where later on, even if you don't like the bet, it's a positive expectation coming back the other way. And I always say, regardless of any type of betting you got, this is the right number. This is what you have. This is what they have. If I've got an advantage here, I'm going to bet it. And once it gets to this point over here, I want to bet it this way. If it doesn't get to this point over here, I'll just keep what I have. And that's how I go about doing my props. And
you've had enough success that you're doing it every year.
Yeah, I mean, I said earlier, I didn't do the video of you, but I did with Marco. I had 140 prop bets last year. If you follow my basketball plays, I'm doing great in the NBA. I've had 31 through the entire
season.
So there's plenty of value here. And the one advantage you have here, and especially in Las Vegas, and this is the one time you want to live in Las Vegas, if you want to bet for a living, come out for the 2 weeks here for the conference championships and the Super Bowl. That's your best time. Not coming out to watch the games for the NCAA tournament. Coming out here, and this is where you make your money.
I agree. You have a disadvantage? I know a lot of guys that say the limits aren't very high, you know, and that hurts because I can't get down a lot of money on a good number, and everyone else is chasing the same number, and also that you're looking into some 20-cent lines and higher. Is that a disadvantage that you got to be a lot more selective?
Yeah, it is a disadvantage. I'll give the Hilton credit. They were let you bet 2 games at a time at 2 dimes each.
That's good.
And that's about as much you can get in town.
Yeah, there's offshore that'll take 200.
Well, you mentioned the 200. There's a lot of places in town that will take 200.
Yeah.
But a lot of people won't make the journey into that place because they don't want to bet 200. But the problem is, you bet that 200 now, you come back a few hours later, you bet that 200 again, you give your buddy $200, hey, go bet this. Eventually, you've got $1,000 there. And it takes a little bit more time. It's a grind out, a little bit of a process. And for $200 bets, they're not going to change the line. You go in the Hilton, bet 2 dimes, they're going to change the line.
Would you also agree that I think this also has an edge, and why one of the reasons I bet futures when people say, you know, there's no money in the futures market, and I disagree, because of the fact casinos aren't really moving their prop lines on air. They have to take a bet to really move it.
Right.
You know, unlike a Saturday college board, they'll move a line because they saw a sharp book on the monitor move their line without ever taking a dollar on a team. But with the prop bets, they're waiting to get bet into before they adjust. And therefore, from property to property, you're getting different numbers.
You are getting different numbers. And I'm sure they've got a guy that is there at the end of the night, and his last thing he has to do was go out and check some of the other places and make those adjustments for the following day. I'm sure they've got a guy doing that. But, yeah, during the day, as you're going from one casino to another, you can get definite advantages. And I know you had some props that you'd like to talk to. Why don't you hit on a couple of those in the meantime?
The one thing I want to point out first and foremost is I jumped on a lot of overs. You know, I don't do it to the level you do, but I've been here long enough, done this long enough to know that the star players, the key players, their yards are going to go up. Right. It's just an easy middle for me for the ones I don't want to keep. The one I did bet over, and I totally came back and bought it all back, is Gronkowski. And I recommend, if you're going to bet Gronkowski props, to look to the under. Because I don't care what they're saying about him being able to play. I don't think he's 100%. It's pretty hard to come back in 2 weeks from that injury. And I get the point that they don't want him to re-aggravate it. That's why he's not practicing. But the bottom line is the only reason a player isn't practicing with the rest of the team is because there's some sort of problem. Now, he may be able to go. He is going to go. But I don't think he's 100%. I think Gonzalez gets a lot of the action there. So I'd look more to Gonzalez props than Gronkowski props. Let me give you a prop bet that I did make. I am keeping. That's the over in sacks. I actually bet it two different ways. I bet the over 4 at -120, but then I bet for both individual teams. I went over 2 and over 2.5. So it was over 2.5 at plus money and over 2 at plus money for 2 over the Giants, 2.5 on New England. So I have the over 4 combined, and then I have the over 2 and 2.5 respectively. Those 2 at plus money I got. That way, if one team gets 3 and the other one doesn't get any or gets 1 and that 4 pushes, at least I earned off the split teams. I think that the reason you're getting value is because if most people are looking at that November meeting for stats and edges into the Super Bowl. And I don't think you could just look at one game to determine how you're going to bet the props. You know, look at their November game to make all your decisions. These teams have played 16, 17, 18 games. Don't just look at the November 6th meeting. Now, looking at that November 6th meeting, Manning got sacked 0 times. Brady got sacked twice. I think that's the only reason we're seeing this kind of value. But I don't think this Super Bowl plays out the way that game played out. If you look at when these two teams met in 2008 in the Super Bowl, there was 8 sacks. Brady got sacked 5 times. Manning got sacked 3 times. That's 8 sacks. I think that's what we're looking at in this game. I think both these quarterbacks like to hold the ball a little too long. And with Jason Pierre-Paul, Umenyiora, Anderson, Carter for New England, I don't think it's asking too much. You have 4 guys there I just mentioned that are in the top 20 of the NFL in sacks. It just looks to me like the over's the way to go.
I just want to touch on 2 things. I don't want to keep this video too long. It's as long as it is now. There's still something out there, team to score first. We already know with a 75% probability that New England will kick off first. The reason being, New England has kicked off every time they've won the coin flip.
27 straight times now.
And the Giants have kicked off all but the last 2 times, and those 2 times were against teams with superior defenses compared to offenses. So you got a pretty good chance.
And you jumped all over that. They had -110, -110. Who's going to receive?
Yeah, I have a friend of mine who beat me to the punch in that, and he actually laid the -110. I was at Leroy's yesterday. It was -350. So
it shows you these odds makers are off at times.
Yeah, they are off. You can't be right every time. We all make mistakes. But if you know the Giants are going to get the ball first with a varying degree, 75% I would guess. It probably is higher than that, but just say conservatively, if the Giants, half the time they take, half the time they defer. We know the Giants are going to get the ball 75% of the time. There's other ways to get around this. Who will punt first? The Giants will punt first. Of course, the line's up to -160 now, so there's no value there. But there's still value on a team to score first. The Giants is -110 right now. If you've got the ball first, and you've got the ball third, and you have the ball fifth, if this is barring any turnovers, you have a better chance of
scoring.
You're a
favorite in the first half.
You're going to be a favorite
in the first half
in that situation. So chances are you will score first. And it's still sitting out there -110 all over the place. So with all these
So would you start looking for New England in the second half since they receive it first?
Unfortunately, it's already been taken out. It's -150 now is New England to get the first down, New England to get the ball first, all those other things that very much correlation. biggest mistake bettors make, and I hate to say this because I know it's going to happen this year, they want to bet the big plus money. They're the guys that go into the slot machine and want to bet megabucks. You want the big payoff, and there's nothing wrong with that stuff. You got to realize the odds are against you. Playing, will there be a safety? Playing, will there...
Overtime, extra point.
Missed extra point. You're betting on things because you want a big payback. The only problem is
they don't happen.
Terrible line. Well, they do happen.
Yeah, but you're not at that price.
And the guys who bet for a living out here will be the guys going in Saturday night, Sunday morning, laying 6-1 on something that true odds are 12-1 on.
And do it all day.
And you do it all day long. If you've got an unlimited bankroll, this is the place to be, because all these guys coming in playing these things, they want something exciting. Will there be a defensive touchdown? Yeah, we want the defensive touchdown. No, you don't. I mean, not to say it's not going to happen, but mathematically,
you're not getting the price to bet that game.
Anything that you should have. Will there be a scoreless quarter? Oh, sure, there's bound to be a score. No, there's a reason why you're getting plus 300, plus 400 on these things every year. Will there be more than 2 people who have a passing attempt? Oh yeah, I remember back in 1980,
they put someone in,
off to the running back, and it's in 1980. I mean, I read an article. The Patriots haven't done it since 2006 or something, and the Giants since 2004. I mean, there's a reason why you're getting plus money on these. Don't bet into the sucker bets. I'm not saying it can't happen. You very well could go to overtime. You very well could have a safety.
But even then, you're not getting the best of it.
You're not getting the best of the number. And if there's one thing you're going to take out of this is do that. Just find out what the true numbers are in these games. Mixed extra point. Lay the 15-1 or whatever, because these kickers have gone 40 kicks all year long. They haven't missed one. I mean, could they miss one? Sure. But if you're going to give me something that should be 80-1 and you're going to let me buy it for 15-1, I'm a buyer. I'm not a seller. How can you not?
That's the difference between a professional bettor and a recreational bettor. A lot of money to make in the props. Final one real quick. I like Ahmad Bradshaw over in yards. I think they got to use him a lot. He didn't play last game. All you saw was Jacobs. I think Bradshaw gets some yardage in this game. Rushing.
Yeah, I'm actually against his receiving yards. I have the under.
No, I think on the ground. I think on the ground he gets it done. He only had 45 in their last Super Bowl, only 45 yards. But Jacobs got the bulk of the work. If you look over the last couple games, it's been Bradshaw who's been getting the work for the Giants. I think they got to try to slow it down a little bit. Got to hand it off, at least try to. Bradshaw rushes for 4.5 yards per carry. I think he gets there. All right. It's going to do it for our props. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Make some money. Don't forget, it's only one game. By Monday morning, we'll all have forgotten about it and be looking forward to March Madness.